Hello, this is Susan. I used to do a web series called The Sequel Critic. It lasted for a whopping 2 episodes. That was ages ago. So I'm kind of reviving it in a sense, but it's going to be kind of like a vlog. And instead of showing clips and stuff, I'm just going to talk about the movie at hand. So the sequel that I'm going to talk about today is the oh-so-charming Mary Poppins Returns. Now, I'm just going to say this. This is not scripted, and if I ramble, I do apologize. Now, back on the matter at hand. So, Mary Poppins Returns. Let me make it clear. I love the original Mary Poppins. It's a classic, it had great songs, great story, great casting. It was a fantastic movie, and in all honesty, it did not need a sequel. So when I heard that they were doing a sequel, I was not too thrilled about it. It's like, why? Why does a sequel need to be made? And then I saw the trailer, and if I am to be quite honest with you, the trailer looked good. I was like, okay, this actually could be good. It's still focusing on the bank's children as adults. And, it kind of shows that Mary Poppins is very magical because she hasn't aged. And I was a little confused when they showed the Cockney fellow. I think he was supposed to be, I was looking at it is that supposed to be like Bert? But I don't know. Regardless, the movie looked like it had good potential. So, about a week ago, maybe less than that, me and Meg finally got to watch it. I'm just going to say this now. If you haven't seen the movie, and if you don't want to be spoiled, then stop watching this video. Thank you. With that said, the movie, I did not like it. I did not like it at all. Meg acted like she liked it at first, because she's a huge, huge fan of Mary Poppins as well. And let's just say the following morning, I'm making coffee, and she comes down the stairs all bleary-eyed. She had just woke up. She had the most grumpiest, frowny face that I've ever seen on her. And she just starts to go into a tirade about how bad the movie was and that, she tried to like it, but the more she thinks about it, the angrier she gets about it. And frankly, I can understand her rage. So, I'm going to pretty much discuss why we didn't like the movie, or more personally, why I didn't like the movie. So, for starters, the movie just felt like it was trying to one-up the original movie. It had a ton of musical numbers, a ton of flashy animations and stuff, and all this special effects and whatnot. And I just felt like it was trying to one-up the original instead of trying to be original. Another problem with the movie was that it literally just felt like a rehash of the original film, in a sense. I mean, yes, they didn't have Michael act like his father, and, it wasn't a deal that he was just not paying attention to his kids and whatnot. I mean, that part was kind of original, but, the whole antics that goes on throughout the film, they go into a bathtub, which was kind of, and then they go into their mother's vice, which was very similar to them going inside of the chalk drawing. And the bloody bloke, I don't even remember his name. He just annoyed me. Pretty much the Bert ripoff. He was pretty much Bert, just without the charm. There was no need for him. If they were going to have a Bert ripoff, they should have just had Dick Van Dyke reprise his role as Bert and just have him be old. I mean, that could have worked. I mean, Dick Van Dyke did return for the film, for Christ's sake. It's like you could have had him be Bert instead of this one-off who had absolutely no charm. But yes, the movie very much copied the original, just not as good. Not good at all. Another problem that I had with this film was what they did to Michael. I mean, the plot, having it be that they were in a financial crisis, I didn't have a problem with that. It was how it happened. pretty much they made Michael, a very incompetent man when it came to managing his finances, that he relied on his wife, and then his wife passed away, and then he was just so careless about stuff too. Like, he's trying to look for the sheet about his shares in the bank that his father had put in for him. And it's obvious that the little piece of paper that Mary Poppins is watching fly away when he's telling his son to throw out the garbage, it's obvious that is supposed to be what he needs. But, something as important as that, what was really annoying about that is that he doodled on the back of it. That would be like taking the sheet that's supposed to be the title for your car and doodling on it. It's like, no one does that. And, Michael as a whole, I didn't mind his character, I like that he was different from his father. I like that he was attentive to his children and, didn't really get mad at them. And even when he was cross with them, he got over it rather quickly, but they just made him so incompetent. They could have still had the financial crisis work in the movie. I mean, how they could have done it, instead of making him be an incompetent buffoon, was that, this is supposed to take place like in the 30s or 40s. So pretty much around World War II. They could have had it be that they were struggling because of that. And maybe have it be that the funeral cost for his wife, or maybe the sickness that she had was so costly to them that that's why they were low on cash. That would have worked way better than having him be, I'm just an artist trying to follow my dreams. I'm going to doodle on this very important document and then have my son throw it away. And then my son takes the important document, it cuts it up and puts it on a kite. Ha ha! It was stupid. The next part of the movie that I really did not like. They had a villain. A villain. A villain. I mean, honestly, the original movie did not have a bloody villain. Some might argue, well, the bankers were the villains and they were just... No, they were not villains. Maybe in your child mind they came across as villains. But when you watch the film as an adult, they were just doing their jobs. And frankly, they had every right to be cross about what happened at the bank, although, in all honesty, they kind of did that themselves. Frankly, if the elder Mr. Dawes did not snatch the money from Michael's hand, Michael would not have flipped out and chaos would not have ensued. But I digress. We're not talking about the original. We're talking about this heaping bloody garbage. The villain in this movie, not only was he unnecessary, he had absolutely no motivation aside from being, whoa, I am evil. It was just stupid. He had no reason to be that way. It was just dumb. The original movie did not have a villain. So why did this movie have a villain? Is it like a cliche now that every single movie needs to have a villain? And it's like, no, not every movie needs a villain. The original movie worked without a villain. This one, this one, if it tried to be more original, and if it didn't try to one-up its predecessor, it might have been decent, but it wasn't. Moving forward, let's talk about Mary Poppins herself. Now, I understand that they tried to write her more like how she was in the book. I mean, fine, whatever, but if this is supposed to be based off the original movie, you should have had her be like the original Mary Poppins. And what was annoying about this Mary Poppins was that she was just very arrogant and snooty, and the original was not like that at all. And I think the biggest annoying thing about her in this movie was the bloody climax. The whole stupid sequence with them having to stop time or set the clock back on Big Ben. She's just standing there watching them, la 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 la, as they're doing this dangerous stuff of climbing up the bloody belt, the bloody clock tower to change the clock. They're not going to make it in time. And then she's like, well, I guess I can help. And then she just floats up all dramatically and just pulls the thing down to give banks more time to get to the bank. And that was just so bloody stupid. It was stupid. I mean, how she acted was just stupid because she was just coming off as a bitch and she was showing off. And that entire sequence as a whole was just stupid. I mean, she has magical powers. She could have just bibbidi-bobbidi-booed them to the bank in time without having to change the clock. It was just awful. And then that was all for nothing either, because they fly the kite over to the banker and whatnot, and then he's like, it doesn't have all the pieces, so guess what? You're not going to get to keep your house. Ho, ho, ho. And then that's when Dick Van Dyke shows up as Dawes, and he's like, oh, well, guess what? I'm just going to magically show up right at the nick of time and stop you from your evil plans and blah, 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 blah. It was just stupid. It was just so bloody stupid. It was so bloody stupid. Now, the housekeeper. I think that was supposed to be one of the original housekeepers in the original film. Obviously not the same actress, but I think it was supposed to be Ellen. Now, I could be wrong on this, but if it was supposed to be Ellen, horrendous casting. A, she looked nothing like her, wasn't even the same height as her. And B, the accent was so off. Ellen in the original movie had like a very thick Cockney accent and whatnot and was very high-pitched and squeaky. It's the master! And this woman, no, not at all. I mean, again, I could be wrong. It might not be one of the original housekeepers. I don't know. But if it was supposed to be Ellen, really bad casting. I mean, the casting for Jane and Michael as adults, I didn't mind. I honestly didn't mind. But, you know, Mary Poppins, I mean, the looks, I don't blame Emily Blunt, you know. I thought she did well with the role, but it just didn't feel like Julie Andrews. And apparently they wanted Julie Andrews to be in this film. I think she was supposed to be the character that Angela Lansbury played. And apparently she declined because she didn't want to take away from the spotlight. But in all honesty, she probably took one look at the script and was like, oh, I don't think so. But yes, overall, I didn't like it. If it tried to be its own original thing, maybe it would have been fine. And like, you know, it had so many musical numbers, it was ridiculous. I mean, the original movie did have a lot of musical numbers, but they were relevant to what was going on. This one, it was just like music. Everywhere is music. And they had no relevance. They had absolutely no relevance. Not really. I mean, some of them did somewhat, but most of them no. But yeah, overall, wasn't a big fan of it. I mean, if you liked it, that's fine. And I'm sure children liked it, but, you know, as someone who really loved the original and then saw this, it just made me mad. I mean, there's such a huge gap between the original and this one. It's like, you had all this time, you could have just used another one of P.L. Travis's stories of Mary Poppins to make a sequel. You could have done that, and you didn't. You just... I think it kills me because this movie had potential to be good, and they just mucked it up. They really did, in my opinion, at least. Well, thank you for listening to my rambles. I don't know if I'm going to do any more of these or not. But yeah. Nice to see you all again, and I hope you all have a nice evening. And stay safe with this lovely virus that's going around, and I'm being sarcastic when I say lovely, by the way. I mean, I personally am kind of a introvert, I believe, so yeah, I think that's the right term. So it doesn't really bother me too much, but Meg's getting a little stir crazy, so... All right, well, have a good one, everyone. Ta-ta for now.